Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Monday, April 27th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith with you, ready to break down two games in the Stanley Cup playoffs here for this Monday night. We've got Game 5 with the Keystone State battle. Philadelphia trying to close out Pittsburgh, a second chance to try to close out Pittsburgh after the Penguins staved off elimination on Saturday night in Game 4. Game 5 in Pittsburgh tonight with the Flyers still up 3-1 in that series, and a big Game 4 with Vegas and Utah in Salt Lake City at the Delta Center with the Utah Mammoth leading that series 2-1. We'll get into those games, and we'll also recap Sunday in just a moment. But first, we have some BetCast breaking news.
This is breaking news from the Ice Guys.
So we've spent the last 2 days feasting on betting elimination playoff games and talking about how live betting in elimination playoff games really opens the door for some great live wagering opportunities and positive expectation bets. So what better decision to make than giving you guys the front row seat to see how this whole shit works with the BetCast tonight for an elimination game between the Philadelphia Flyers and the Pittsburgh Penguins. And that is what we are doing. Another Patreon exclusive Stanley Cup playoffs live BetCast tonight for Game 5 between the Philadelphia Flyers and Pittsburgh Penguins. The BetCast will begin at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time tonight. Again, this is exclusive to our Patreon members. So if you want to join us on the BetCast and tune in for the BetCast, get on board for just $10 per month, patreon.com/iceguys before tonight, and get on board to be with us tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for Game 5, as the Penguins will look to stay alive once again, and the Flyers will look to finish the Pittsburgh Penguins here in this first-round series. Looking forward to it, and looking forward to it because we've been around the block with these playoff elimination games, you and I, for years now, talking about just how fruitful it can be from a betting standpoint, from a live betting standpoint, and what better way to show that to everybody tonight than on the BetCast in an elimination game.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, that's the whole how this whole BetCast thing started. It was kind of practicing what we were preaching as far as live betting goes. And like I said, we have a perfect setup tonight with an elimination game, and this is one where we've already cashed with some of these bets that you hear us talking about tonight during the BetCast within this series alone, and a couple of other series as well that have ended. So looking forward to this evening.
No doubt. You know what Boston Bruins fans watching this podcast are not looking forward to is hearing us recap the first game of yesterday's slate. The Boston Bruins, woof, that was absolutely fucking pathetic. It really was to start the game like that. When you had lost the previous game of the series, of course, Game 3, losing at home to the Buffalo Sabres, with the Sabres being up 2-1, knowing that if you lose yesterday, you're down 3-1 in the series, for them to be as flat, dominated, as just pulverized as they were in the first period by the Buffalo Sabres. Hideous. Jeremy Swayman left out to dry by his defense. Hampus Lindholm was terrible. The whole group was awful in their own zone. Turnovers galore fed many of those Buffalo Sabres goals that ended up going in, and it was just an really atrocious performance and a horrible game start to finish by the Boston Bruins. They deserved to get their asses booed out of the rink after the first period ended. You know, it was that awful a first period to be down 4-0, and the game was over. Like, it wasn't one of these deals like Game 1 in Buffalo where you felt even down 4-0 so early that the Bruins could get back into it. They felt dead. They looked out of it. They looked horrific right from puck drop, and I didn't see it changing, especially with the way Buffalo was playing. Not only did it not change, it got worse, because Buffalo just put it on cruise control. It was a scoreless second, and then they added to it with 2 goals in the third. Jeremy Swayman ended up getting pulled in the third. It was a mercy pull at that point. You know, you can't even fault him too much for the goals that went in. It was just no help around him. Obviously, Jonas Korpisalo came in to finish the game there. And I guess the only bit of bright news, and it's not much consolation, is they broke the shutout bid for Alex Lyon in the latter stages, but still a horrific game, 6-1. And it was a beatdown in every sense of the word for the Buffalo Sabres. And I told you guys, stick with the players that I've been talking up all series. Eventually, they're going to find it, and they're going to start putting the puck in the net and producing offensively. Josh Doan, Zach Benson, that group, and we saw those guys definitely take in the first period, jump on board right away. How about the fact, and the Sabres socials are on this, that Bo Byram and Owen Power in their first, for Owen Power, and Bo Byram, I think it's only the third time in Sabres history that each of them have had a point in their first 4 playoff games of the season, of the playoff season. Yeah, 4-game point streaks to begin the playoffs for Owen Power and Bowen Byram. And Bo Byram's been amazing for the Sabres in this series.
Yes.
You are seeing now why the Sabres wanted him. He's dynamic. He can get in on the offense. He's got a good shot. He's got those kind of instincts. And don't forget, he was on the Colorado Avalanche when they won the Stanley Cup a few years ago. He was on that team. So he actually knows what it takes to win a Stanley Cup. He's got that experience too. I mean, we talk about Alex Tuch with the playoff experience, the Stanley Cup winning experience, but don't lose sleep of Bo Byram. Bo Byram's won a Stanley Cup too for Colorado, and you're seeing his, experience of these playoff wars showing for the Buffalo Sabres here so far. But nothing more to say, Alex. It was just dominance, start to finish, from the Buffalo Sabres, and I would be completely and utterly ashamed and embarrassed, as Charlie McAvoy said in his postgame, and same with head coach Marco Sturm. He said it too. We should all be embarrassed for that performance yesterday. Yeah, you should.
When we're talking about this series, we were saying about, the youth and the, like I said, majority of inexperience with the Buffalo players against a fairly veteran-laden, Boston team. Didn't look like that at all yesterday. It looked like Boston was a team that hadn't been in the playoffs in 15 years, and Buffalo was a team that knew what to do in that moment on the road, take the crowd out of the game, dominate a full 60-minute effort. Like I said, Alex Lyon playing fantastic. And I was talking to somebody yesterday about this tandem with Lyon and UPL could easily run throughout as long as Buffalo's still around. Keep in mind, it was just 4 years ago. I was watching it. Alex Lyon was in a tandem with Pyotr Kochetkov for the Chicago Wolves. They ended up winning the Calder Cup. And they were able to manage that beautifully throughout the 5 rounds that was going through in the Calder Cup. Like I said, home and road. Now that you have Lyon playing comfortably on the road, UPL playing comfortably at home, there's no reason to rock the apple cart with that tandem. And like you said, you've not got defensemen chipping in, getting points per game. You've got, all, like I said, the younger guys who are getting their feet wet into the playoffs, looking comfortable against a Boston team that just seems to be kind of playing out the string. They looked at the end of that game just as flat as they did when Florida was getting ready to take them out. Like we've seen them in the last couple of years where they've been eliminated from the postseason, and Buffalo looks dangerous. If they're able to win and play with that kind of confidence on the road, sky's the limit for them here in this tournament.
I mean, they look mature beyond their years right now. I mean, this is a franchise that hasn't been in the playoffs in 15 years, and for outside of a small handful, a Buffalo Sabres players, who's been in the playoffs before? Tuch obviously won a cup. Byram, we just talked about it, won a cup. Ryan McLeod, from his Edmonton days, they've been at Zucker, has been in the playoffs before for Buffalo. But you start to look outside of that, there's not a whole lot of playoff experience on this team. There just isn't. And, they look like a team that screwed no playoff experience for the majority of this roster. They look like they know exactly how to handle it yesterday in that dominant victory over Boston. And now, it's not easy to close a series. We've seen that. And it's up to Boston to get up off the mat. But, boy, I mean, they are going to have to do some serious soul searching. And David Pasternak's got to rise to the forefront, too. He's had a very tepid series by his standards. Pavel Zacha, people are frustrated with him, Alex. Talking about, Pavel Zacha, amazing regular season. What the hell are you doing in the playoffs? Not much right now, And people talking about how I think he's got 1 goal in his last 20-some playoff games for the, in his career. That's not elevating at this time of year. So there's a bunch of and the whole Blue Line collective has to be better. There's no question about it. I mean, it was awful. They were just giving up pizzas and just saying, here you go, Buffalo, take this puck and put it in the fucking back of our net. And that's the way they played, with that lack of attention to detail and just horrible puck management all game from Boston in that loss. We say goodbye to the LA Kings. They ended up going out in 4 straight to the Colorado Avalanche. And you talk about a game that couldn't have worked out better. These elimination games, they have certainly delivered the profits for me, for Alex so far here. And thanks to Alex for mentioning Colorado. Third period, team total over 1.5, which was plus 180. It was a great price. I actually jumped on that right after he mentioned it. Wasn't even something I had thought of. But, if we thought Colorado was going to eliminate the LA Kings, there'd be a damn decent chance that they'd be able to get 2 goals in the third. And that's why we thought they could get those 2 goals. Well, they actually got it already because it was 2-1 going into the third. They made it 4-1. But the reason why I like the full game over and still all the third period overs is because even in an elimination game, when you're down 3, you have to pull the goalie. You just have to. There's no question to make, unless you're truly giving up and you really don't think there's any way back. And you say, we're not going to come back anyway, which is nonsense, because I think even down 3, if you're going to pull the goalie with 5.5 minutes, you got to have that mindset of, well, we score 1 in the next minute or so. We're down 2. We can pull the goalie again, and we're still got 3-4 minutes left. You can't give up. Your season's on the line. And we saw it with DJ Smith, Alex, even down 4-1. He's pulling on Anton Forsberg in the third period. And sure enough, Nathan MacKinnon, not long after that, into the empty net to make it 5-1, which puts the full game over the total, which cashes any of the 2.5 third period bets that were out there for that game. The 1.5 was already a winner, but you got the over 2.5 in the third period with that Nathan MacKinnon empty netter to make it 5-1. It was just LA could not finish enough chances. It's really that simple. There's just not enough offense on this team. It was a big issue. And let's give Colorado credit. They also showed why they could get out of the West and win a Stanley Cup once again. Their defensive details about as good as I've seen. Now, I know it's LA. They're not a firepower team by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm still impressed, Alex, with the defensive play of the Avs in that series, combined with Scott Wedgwood, who I thought had a terrific series for the most part for the Avs there in that one. They send away the LA Kings. Pretty solid performance. What a goal by Makar, too. Great move, and what a shot. He had the MacKinnon one-timer. People will say that's a bad goal by Forsberg, but when you shoot the puck that freaking hard on a one-timer, and MacKinnon can do that, the puck sometimes will just go through you because of the velocity on it. And that's what happened on that shot. Now, if that's a fourth liner shooting the puck like that through the goaltender, maybe I'd say bad goal. But when it's Nathan MacKinnon with all that velocity and power behind his shot on a one-timer, I'm going to cut Forsberg some slack. But congratulations to the Colorado Avalanche, moving on to the second round. And congratulations to Anze Kopitar on an incredible career that came to an end. Was well done at the end of that game. They all shook his hand. He got the chance to salute the crowd one last time, the Kopi chants from the Crypto.com Arena faithful. I mean, he is going to go down in history as one of the most underrated star players of all time, because no one, he didn't get talked about. He didn't get featured on national TV like Sidney Crosby did and Alex Ovechkin did and Connor McDavid did, during his era of hockey. He was he just went about his business, put in the work, showed up to play every day, wasn't looking for attention, wasn't looking for accolades, wasn't looking for, hey, look at me, look how great I am. He never came across that way, Anze Kopitar. And what he accomplished in his career, Lady Byng trophies, obviously a great defensive player, 2-time Stanley Cup champion. His whole career with the LA Kings, you don't see that all as much as you used to. A player is basically a lifer with just one NHL team for his whole career. Just class off the ice. Great player on it. Anze Kopitar, congratulations to him, Alex. Great career.
Yeah, wonderful career. Like I said, 2-time Selke winner, 3-time Lady Byng winner, and 2 Stanley Cup rings. It'll be at some point, probably in the next decade, where we'll be hearing his name called, certainly for the Hockey Hall of Fame. Like I said, for a guy who played 20 years with one team, damn sure don't see that too much happening these days. And he's had a hell of a career. Like I said, just a workhorse throughout the majority of that career. Was always the guy that when you saw the Kings, when they were playing at the top of their game, he was an important focal point of that organization. And now it's just Drew Doughty. We saw Jonathan Quick play his last game with the Rangers. Kopitar's gone. Doughty's the only guy left from those 2012, 2014 championship runs. And we'll see how long he lasts in LA. But the Kings, they are who we thought they were. And so was Colorado, and this series, matched up where we said it was going to be a quick one. We thought maybe LA would get at least one victory out of that sequence, but like you said, with Wedgwood playing at the top of his game, the defense playing well all throughout the lineup, not just the blue liners, but the forwards as well, and then you getting your timely goals from McKinnon and company. That's a hard squad to stop, and like I said, it's nice to cash in with all the elimination props, emptying that goal, that over 1.5. Like I said, knew Colorado's a team that would be able to dump it on in that spot. That may not be something we look for in every elimination game, as we'll talk about a little bit later, but certainly that is one of many avenues that you can look for within the third period of an elimination game that you can cash with and find some good value.
Yeah, no question. And like I said, that game was just tremendous. It was after adding the Avs third period team total in that game between the Avs and the Kings. I mean, it was just basically, and plus the show best bet was the over 5.5 with Colorado and LA for me yesterday. But my goodness, we had the Avs team total full game over. We had the third period over, Avs empty net goal just for any empty net goal to be scored as well. And those were plus 225 and plus 125 respectively. And the full game over. I mean, it was just a perfection. You couldn't have asked for it to go better than it did there in that one. So Colorado moving on. Michael Russo made a great point on Twitter that if the Stars and Wild series goes 6 or 7 into the deep waters, well, it's definitely going 6 now. And if it goes 7, we could be looking at 7 to 8 days off between series for the Colorado Avalanche. Yep. So, and that could be a good thing later in that series. But in the first game or two, the edge could actually be with the Stars and the Wild, because there could be a little rust creeping in for the Avs being off for so long, having to just suddenly lock in and get into playoff mode again. They're sitting on their, keister for a week. That won't be easy necessarily, that first game, if that is how long the Avs are going to be off. So it's going to be interesting to see what tactics Jared Bednar employs to try to keep this team in some kind of flow. Practice, scrimmages, drills, whatever the case may be. Because I don't think you just want them sitting around for a week if Stars Wild goes the distance.
No. And if I'm someone who makes notes, I've made the note in my phone already. First goal, first period for whichever team, Wild or Stars, advance in game 1 of round 2 against Colorado, because that just seems to be, like I said, especially if you're talking about, and people will freak out about this. They'll say, oh, let's say that series does go to 7 games, and there's only a day in between game 7 of round 1 and game 1 of round 2. People will automatically jump and say, well, Colorado's had all the rest. Now's the time to catch this team that's been playing a lot of hockey, that's been playing in this game 7, that had all this pressure. No, that's the team that's still kind of running on almost a regular system routine. Oh, we had a day off, we played the day before, and now we are jumping into a new series. So don't just run automatically and look at, oh, here's Colorado with 8 days of rest that can take advantage of a team that's been going through a hard-fought series. It could be that team that wins that series that has that momentum starting off.
Yeah, no question. Who's got momentum in the last game of the night in that series? The Anaheim Ducks. It's not the 2-time defending Western Conference champions. That is for sure. The Edmonton Oilers ended up going to Tristan Jarry for a spark to try to get the series turned around. And I'll say this about Tristan Jarry. This is not his fault. He actually played great. I thought this was as good a game as I've seen Tristan Jarry play in an Edmonton Oilers jersey. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He gave them a chance. I don't think you could really say there's that one goal where, gosh, he really should have had that one. I don't really think you could have said that about any of the Anaheim goals. This stands more on the players. You can't give Anaheim all those power play chances. The Anaheim power play has absolutely cooked. Cooked duck. Well, guess what? The Ducks are cooking the Oilers penalty kill in this series. They did it again last night. Their puck movement has been absolutely tremendous. And that got them in trouble. There were moments where it looked like Edmonton was going to take control of last night's game. They had the start they wanted, up 2-0 early, but they just opened the door for Anaheim to get back into the game with the penalty parade. And it started, of course, with Gauthier, in the second period when they were up 2-0. He gets the power play goal. What a shot it was, too. That guy can absolutely shoot the puck. Incredible. Like perfect shot past Jari to make it 2-1 on the power play. Granlund, great give and go. He ties it also on the power play late in the second, ties it up at 2. And then the Oilers get a power play of their own from Evan Bouchard to go up 3-2. And yes, that was a great goal, great shot. Evan Bouchard has got, if you're an Edmonton Oilers coach, it's maddening because you know this guy can be a difference maker, a game breaker offensively with what he can do with the puck on his stick, with the shot that he has, with what he can do on the power play. And then you see him at the other end of the ice, and it's a fucking horror show. It is. And again, it was last night. And then I'll get to it in a minute because 3-2, Jeffrey VL ties it 3-3. What a series he's having for Anaheim. That's back-to-back games with a goal for him. But it was 3-3 in the third, and they lived to survive it because Jari ended up making the save here. And this goes back to Bouchard and what a nightmare he's been defensively in this series. He's been terrible, awful. So many gaffes he's made. And I think Jonathan posted this on Twitter too. What the hell are you doing pinching in a 3-3 game late in the third? You give up a 4-on-2 rush the other way. Like that Pee-wee fucking defenseman, Pee-wee hockey defenseman know better than that. Like, what are you doing? You're just giving yourself the opening to lose that hockey game right then and there. If you're Evan Bouchard, and thankfully in that moment, Jari bailed him out. And for that and they were able to get that game to overtime. Now, obviously, we ended in controversy. Ryan Poehling wins it in overtime. Anaheim gets the 4-3 win. To me, there's no way you can look at where the puck was in relation to the goal line, and we know the skate of Tristan Jari was kind of blocking the view of where the outer edge of that puck was in relation to the goal line, to that red goal line. But I think it was in. You know, could you have seen 100% of the full entire puck over that goal line in any of the shots? No, you couldn't. But how could you not think that was completely in? I mean, it was way below the skate. And there was one angle that ESPN had that I don't think Sportsnet had, where you look at it more from the side, and you could see that puck definitely looked in. No question about that. The thing that the Oilers are pissed off about, and a certain former Oiler, Ryan Whitney, who's been cheering on the Oilers, obviously, as he always does, is that they felt, and I don't necessarily disagree, how the hell was any referee in position to call that a goal on the ice because of where they were stationed at the time? And that's the bone of contention here, that it should have been called no goal on the ice. And if it had been called no goal, then the review might not have had the evidence necessarily, complete evidence, 100% evidence, to overturn the call, and thus it would have stayed no goal, and we would keep playing overtime. That's what some of the Oilers fans are saying. But I think anybody with two working, functional eyeballs and a brain to think knows that puck probably, crossed the goal line. It did. In that instance. So it's one of those deals where good goal, puck was definitely across the goal line. The process that led to that is what was a little bit dicey, and what the Oiler fans are taking exception with, because no referee was stationed in a position where they could clearly decipher in or not. And when that's the case, you can't say goal if you don't know for sure that it was completely in. So that's their issue, because they feel that if it was no goal on the ice, it would have stayed no goal. Just like with it being called goal on the ice, it clearly was going to stay goal. So basically, whatever the call on the ice was going to be in this situation, it was going to stay that way. At the end of the day, it was in to me. To me, it was in. To me, to 98, 99% of the hockey world, unless you're a 1% of the really totally biased, put your head in the sand and bury it type of Oiler fan, you're going to realize that puck was probably in. So at the end of the day, you can't change it now. Anaheim won the game. Edmonton had chances. Again, Edmonton's penalty kill got them in trouble, and Anaheim continues to find ways to win. Their resilience is something else for such a young group. And right now, and Jackson Lacombe, what a series. He's at a point in every game in this series for the Anaheim Ducks. Another great game from him. Kookie's been great for them. And they're going to use that call to make excuses, and the injury. And look, I get it. The three centers are all banged up, Alex. There's no doubt about that. Connor McDavid, less than 100%, no question. Leon Draisaitl, that was a significant injury that kept him out late in the regular season. He ain't 100%, and I don't think the Trooper's 100% either. Jason, because he's always fucking hurt anyway. How can he be 100% right now? And people will say, oh, we're injured, we're hurt, we're tired. We went to the Stanley Cup final 2 years. And to a certain extent, yes, that's true. But you're getting outplayed. Okay, you're getting outplayed, and Anaheim's beating you and being a better team than you in this series through 4 games. Let's not lose sight of that. Let's just not say, oh, we're injured. Oh, we're tired. Oh, we're fatigued and all this nonsense. No, Anaheim's been a better hockey team than you for more periods in this series. Simple as that. And that is why, Alex, they're up 3-1.
Yeah. You can have excuses in the playoffs, and they can be valid. We always talk about teams that we maybe be looking for excuses when they get eliminated. There's they could, when or if Edmonton gets eliminated, we know what the reasons are for them, and you could call them valid, because we always talk about having center depth is one of the most important things to being a winning playoff team. And if you don't have that, especially when you're a team like Edmonton and your 2 most valuable players are centers, and even you could say Jason Dickinson, for as well as he plays when he's healthy, is extremely important to this lineup and to this matchup. But okay, well, those are the excuses. They're hurt, they're banged up. But like you said, Anaheim, this has been a resilient team all year long. We know they have the coaching edge in this series, the youth edge in this series, and I think that's really kind of the theme of the first round of the playoffs, right? All these youthful teams. We just talked about it with Buffalo. You can talk about it with Philly tonight. These young teams, they aren't afraid of the moment because they aren't used to the moment. The pressure is not really always there sometimes for these young teams, because they don't know what it's like to have to close out at 3-1 or the pressure of trying to even up a series at 2. Those little nuances, sometimes ignorance is bliss in this aspect. And I think that could be a little bit of the case here with Anaheim. But as far as the game-winning goal scored, you don't need tennis technology. You don't need laser technology. All you needed was CFS. What does that mean? That means common fucking sense. If you see enough of the puck to where it's crossed the line, and unless that puck was actually on the fucking blade of Jari's skate, which it wasn't, it was underneath, and we know that there's the dimensions of where, the puck can fit underneath the side of a skate, turned at that angle, that the puck is across the line completely, and it's a good goal. I don't know what Ryan Whitney was watching and what he was seeing. I don't know how much pink vodka he drank to, want to argue that call, or any of the other Edmonton Oilers fans, but it was a good fucking goal. Plain and simple.
Yeah, he was seeing a bunch of orange bias. That's pretty much it for much of that. No question. Like I said, going to be fascinating to see how Edmonton responds now. Their backs are against the wall. They're down 3-1. We don't question their and look, the effort was there. They played with a level of desperation last night, but these egregious breakdowns still hurt them. The penalty parade and the penalty kill continues to let them down. It was the penalty kill that let them into the series, let them back into that game last night, because they had the great, start Edmonton. That's why I liked Edmonton first goal, first period, but that's all I took with Edmonton. I didn't take them full game as far as the money line is concerned. But nevertheless, another frustrating result. And for the first time in this series, the game does not go over the total, because the total was 7. So it was a push. It ended with 7 goals, 4-3. But for the 4th straight game in this series, both teams to score 3 goals, which is something you're able to bet at. FanDuel's got it. Bet365 has it. 4-0 in this series, if you've been betting that. Both teams to score 3 goals. I can tell you, I'm going to be on that again in Game 5. I don't see how that changes. I mean, I don't. I mean, both teams to score 3 goals. It's been something that's been taking place in every game in this series, and it wouldn't shock me to see that continue. And by the way, what about the shot of Jay Woodcroft too, that ESPN caught? What a smile on his face after that.
Yep, that was great.
He enjoyed that.
That was great.
I think he did, no doubt. And then Anaheim Twitter has it too. Coach Q with the, just waits for every player to come off the ice, and every single one with the, attaboy and what a win, and congratulating them. He's a hell of a coach, man. And with that win, by the way, he's second all time by himself in playoff wins. I think it's 123 or something playoff wins. Guess who's only ahead of him? Yeah, the same guy that's the only guy ahead of him in terms of overall wins, the great Scotty Bowman, who, by the way, is still alive and kicking at 92. I saw him with Jimmy and Pierre the other day. Unbelievable still how sharp he is still for 92 years old. But that's it. It's Scotty and it's Joel Quenneville. atop the coaching mountain in the NHL. What a job! What a job!
Yeah.
What a job he's done.
Yeah, and we knew, in the years that he was out, we said, well, when he gets back in, and it's funny because seeing him with Woodcroft, and that was one of the first things I said. You can go back and find the footage a couple of years ago. I said, man, I would love for the Hawks to suck it up, bring Q back, and bring Woodcroft on. And I'm like, that's a hell of a tandem. I know a lot of people were giving Woodcroft gruff, saying that he's not a guy who can lead on his own, but he's a solid assistant, and we've certainly seen that. That's a tandem that has done some damn good work so far in Orange County.
And his intel on the Oilers has absolutely helped Coach Q in this series from a game planning, a strategic standpoint. There's no question about it. It's paid big time dividends, no doubt. All right, let's get to Monday night. Just 2 games. We'll begin with our BetCast game, which will be on the air for tonight. Game 5, Flyers, Penguins.
Didn't we forget? We forgot a game in the recap. A really big game in the recap. My God,
we did.
Montreal and Tampa Bay.
That's just a brain fart on my part. You're right. But Montreal, Tampa Bay. You know what it is? My betting action was less in that game.
Yeah.
all I really had was a small bit on the first period over and the both teams to score, which didn't hit. And I wasn't really strong on the side really on that game. But it was a great hockey game. Absolutely great. Montreal 2-0. Zach Bolduc made it 1-0. Cole Caulfield finally on the board, makes it 2-0 for Montreal. And at that point, I'm like, God, Tampa Bay's in some serious freaking trouble. The building's going nuts. Montreal's up 2-0. And then a hit by on Uri Slavkovsky in the center ice area by Crozier for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And it seemed from that moment that woke Tampa Bay up. They got going. Yeah. They scored the 2-1 goal right before the end of the second period, not long after Slavkovsky was knocked for a loop. He went back to the Montreal dressing room. He did come back and return in the third period, obviously. But it's like from that moment, that's when it shifted. And sometimes that's what it takes in a playoff game, just a big-ass hit that rocks one of the best players on the other team. It gets Tampa going. They made it 2-1 late in the first. They tie it, obviously, early in the second, 2-2. And Brandon Hagel, man, how freaking good is this guy? For the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's been absolutely tremendous. He has been the best player in the series, certainly for Tampa Bay, without question. He has been a game breaker. He's been a difference maker. He's dragged his team into games, into the series, into the fight. He got both goals in the third, the tying goal on the power play, the game-winning goal with under 5 minutes to go to make it 3-2. And the Lightning make it stand up for a huge monster comeback. You know how difficult that is in that building with how the roof was going to blow off the Bell Center when they were up 2-0 to somehow find a way to battle back and win 3-2 yesterday. And by the way, some bad penalties by Montreal. Terrible lack of discipline, and it killed them. And you could see with every penalty call, and a lot of them were bad. The Jake Evans penalty, bad penalty. Mike Matheson, control your stick, man. Bad penalty. And you could just see Marty St. Louis just shaking his head and so frustrated because he knew they were opening the door for Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay walked on right through it. And if they lose this series, Alex, Montreal, going to look back on that sequence from the Slavkovsky hit onward, the penalty troubles, the Tampa Bay capitalizing on them, is that being the moment they lost the series. If they don't win it, they're going to look back at a real missed opportunity last night in Game 4.
I talk about how ignorance is bliss with some of the younger teams in this postseason. This is a situation where the veteran team certainly was able to, use what they needed to get ahead and even this series up in Tampa Bay. Fucking hit somebody. And like I said, hit somebody important and get that momentum back in your side.
For yourself.
Make something happen. And then you have a guy like a Brandon Hagel who can take a game over, put the game on his stick, get those important goals when you need it most. And listen, this is a Tampa Bay team that we talked about throughout the whole year. Their depth had to keep them afloat. They had so many injuries and different things. This is a Tampa team now. They got to rely on their top 6 guys. The household names are going to have to step up and continue to lead them if they want to win this series. That's the difference there. You still have a much more dangerous team, in my opinion, in Montreal. I think they're a much more talented team. Cole Caulfield getting the goal and having him wake up, that's humongous for the Habs. But like you said, you can't make mistakes to hurt yourself, and you can't give any kind of a spark of sentiment to this Tampa Bay team because they know how to win games and how to steal games in 7-game series. And that's exactly what that was there in game 4. It made for an interesting series. Now, we didn't have the overtime. The overtime streak did snap. We finally saw a game in regulation, but it played like another game that was looking to go past regulation. And it wouldn't shock me one bit looking at game 5 if we possibly see a game go past 60 minutes. But that's been one hell of a series for sure.
Yeah, no question. It has been a great series. That and Anaheim Edmonton, even though that's now 3-1, they have been Dallas Minnesota. That's right up there. It's been a great series, no question. That's been exciting. That's been competitive from start to finish. So, like I said, Tampa Montreal's right up there. Plus, we've had all the physicality, the animosity in that series so far. So it's been a great series. It feels like it's going 7. Because I think Montreal's capable of winning a game.
Yeah, it's got that feeling.
Yeah, they are. And remember, Tampa's home record stinks still. They finally won game 2 at a home game against Montreal. But even after that win, they're 2-11, in their last 13 home playoff games. Keep that in mind. Before you write off Montreal that, they've lost their chance completely. Tampa's just 2-11 in their last 13 home playoff games. That's atrocious. So, Montreal can easily win one more game down there in Tampa Bay, but that's been a great series. You're right. The one penalty that was kind of BS was Kapanen was eye stick, but then there was that delay and then the reaction after that. Yeah, that was a bit of a shaky. That was definitely embellished a little bit on the Tampa Bay side for sure. All right, game 5, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh. We got Pittsburgh minus 135 home favorites, 5.5 the total. Philly looking to finish things off. I'm just going to run it back with game 4. I like Pittsburgh first goal, first period again, just like game 4. I think we'll see them with the great energy. Shelov's, the change from Dan Muse to go from Skinner to Artur Shelov's paid off. He was very solid, no bad goals, gave Pittsburgh a chance, and Pittsburgh capitalized. And it was Dan Vladar's probably weakest game of the series by far. And he had that terrible giveaway behind the net that led to the Ricard Raquel goal. That was the one that felt like really kind of broke Philadelphia's back a little bit. At 2-0 goal right at the beginning of the second period when Dan Vladar misplayed the puck. And that certainly changed the momentum toward Pittsburgh in that one. But I like goal in the first period, or first goal, first period for Pittsburgh. I'd probably bet Pittsburgh to score a goal in the first period live during the betcast. I'm not going to take it now because it's not a good enough price. And I will take pregame Philadelphia plus 115 because I do think they could still win this game and come back after giving up the first goal. But I'm going to just dabble small in that pregame because just in case Philly scores first, I'm going to dabble at pregame. But if Pittsburgh scores first, I'm going to add more Philly live during the betcast tonight. And, of course, we'll be on during this game. Another thing I'm going to do is because Philadelphia's got the chance to obviously finish Pittsburgh, their team total's 2.5, but I'm not betting that now. We'll let that thing drop. We'll get even money. We'll get plus money on Philadelphia team total over 2.5 live. We'll sprinkle on that. I'm also going to get in just a little bit on this Flyers. Now that Alex has got me going on this here. Flyers team total over 1.5, third period, plus 235 at FanDuel. I think that's worth a look. And you already know it, what we're looking at here as far as third period. Over 2. We're on that once again. Over 2 at BetMGM for the third period here with Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. I'm just seeing the current numbers with that. It's a minus 125 is what we're looking at right now at BetMGM. Yeah. Now over 2 minus 125 third period, Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. We'll get in on that. I've got over 1.5 in the third period of this game parlayed with Boston Buffalo tomorrow night over 1.5 in the third period at plus 117 at BetMGM. And remember, Bruins Sabres tomorrow night is an elimination game. So it fits that third period over system as well. So over 2 individually for Flyers Penguins, third period. We also have it parlayed over 1.5 third period here with the Boston Buffalo third period over 1.5 tomorrow night. And of course, Philadelphia empty net goal here tonight in this game, which is also at BetMGM for this. Make sure you check it out. And then, of course, the just an empty net goal is plus 125 here in this one. And the Flyers specifically to score the empty net goal is plus 350 at BetMGM. That's a heck of a price right there. So plus 350 for a Flyers empty net goal and plus 125 for just any empty net goal there with Flyers and Penguins. And yes, the over 5.5 pregame as well. Because again, we're talking about over 1.5 third period, over 2.5 third period, over full game in all 3 elimination games this weekend. Cashed in all 3. Carolina, Ottawa, Pittsburgh, Philly Saturday, both of those Saturday, and of course Colorado, LA yesterday. 3-0 for the third period overs and the full game over in these elimination games. So, Alex, I'll throw it to you, and I'm sure we're singing from the same songbook on this one. What do you think, Flyers, Penguins?
Yeah, pretty much. We were kind of talking about that before even the show started, but we like pretty much the same kind of things. Now, there's some stuff that I'm waiting for live that you're betting pregame. For example, over 5.5 in the full game. I'll wait for that in game. Even a first period over, which I do kind of like. I could see this maybe starting off with a couple of goals in the first and then slowing down a little bit. Minus $1.10. We certainly can wait for that in the betcast to cross over the plus money territory. Not really bullish on both teams to score necessarily, even though Philly's been a team that hasn't scored in the first period yet. That could change here, but at plus 200, once again, we can still wait for some value to maybe creep up within the betcast tonight. So look at those looks live, but pregame, empty net goal by anybody plus 125. Like I said, Flyers empty net goal plus 350, and I was able to grab that third period over to minus 120 earlier at MGM. I still like it at 125. Now, if you want to go over 2.5, you can get was it plus two, 150 rather, plus 150 at FanDuel for that over 2.5 in the third period. If you want to add that hook along, but this is one where I'm going to stay with just that over 2 at minus 120. I still would play it at 125.
Good stuff. All right, a lot of props that I do like here when you're looking at Flyers Penguins. Let's start with shots on goal, because we've got Sidney Crosby's gone over 2.5 shots on goal in every game in this series. Every game. Even though he hasn't had a great offensive game. I think his best game by far, though, was game 4 when the Penguins won on Saturday night. But he's still gone over 2.5 shots on goal in every game. And it's still a reasonable enough price there for Crosby, over 2.5 shots. Noah Cates for Philly, Anthony Mantha for Pittsburgh, Trevor Zegras for Philly, Sean Couturier for Philly, and Jamie Drysdale from the blue line for Philadelphia. All of those players have gone over their shots on goal in back-to-back games entering tonight. So I don't mind looking in that with all of those players. Cates, Mantha, Zegras, Couturier, Drysdale. All over 1.5 shots in back-to-back games entering tonight. Point props, Ricard Raquel, Trevor Zegras, Erik Karlsson on 2-game point streaks here in the series. Konechny, Dvorak, and got a point in the last game for their teams. Sanheim, Letang, and York also got a point in the last game, as did Denver Barkey for Philadelphia. And I bring him up because his point prop is like plus 200 almost, just about that. And he is moving up to the top line based on the line rushes for Philadelphia at practice yesterday. I'm seeing Denver Barkey, Trevor Zegras, and Owen Tippett as the potential top line tonight for the Philadelphia Flyers. So not just a Barkey point, but I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on that goal prop too here tonight on Denver Barkey, which is like plus 550 now for him to find the back of the net, which is excellent value. Plus 625 actually at BetMGM for Denver Barkey. And if he's going to play on that top line, that's worth a look. And another player that I think is going to maybe make an impact tonight for Philadelphia, he's getting the bump into the lineup tonight in place of Matvei Mishkov. That's the big news and headline story for the Flyers going into this game. Matvei Mishkov, healthy scratch, not going to play tonight for Philadelphia. And I don't mind it. He hasn't had a great series. I think Tocchet's always been critical of his defensive play at times, and you need that in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And if you're not going to produce consistently and then you're not bringing it without the puck, Rick Tocchet's not going to have the time of day for you. And right now it's kind of looking like that with Matvei Mishkov. So Mishkov is out, and Alex Bump is going to draw into that spot with Noah Cates and Tyson Forster. He scored the last game he played for Philadelphia, Alex Bump. And he scored in the previous time he faced the Pittsburgh Penguins earlier this season. And you can get plus 650 for Alex Bump to score a goal And even plus 155 is out there just for his point prop to get a point at a few books. So I think it's an Alex Bump night. I think he's going to get into the lineup and make an impact. He's done it before when he's been scratched for a game or two. He's just come into the Philadelphia lineup and gotten it done, made something happen. So I like that as far as a Philadelphia goal prop. I'm with Terry Ray Vegas. On the Pittsburgh side, I was just going to get there with Igor Shinikov. He's leading the Penguins in scoring chances in this series, and the puck just hasn't gone in yet. But he's leading them in scoring chances. He's been generating quite a bit. You're getting plus 330, plus 320 at some spots here for him to find the back of the net tonight. That's probably some good value with Igor Shinikov here for Pittsburgh to maybe finally get things going a little bit offensively. I mean, he's had the chances. The puck just hasn't gone in for him as of yet. As far as blocked shots, Sanheim's is too juiced, but he has gone over 1.5 shots, blocked shots in 3 straight games. I would say maybe look toward Cam York, too, for Philly and Sealer. Sealer went over his blocked shots last game. Pittsburgh threw everything at the net. I think Pittsburgh's going to throw a lot at the net for tonight as well, facing elimination. So Sealer is still reasonably priced as far as blocked shots are concerned. Drysdale could be a candidate there as well. And I'm going to go to Dan Vladar over saves tonight for Philadelphia. I think he'll be busy. I think Pittsburgh is finally starting to, and they've really made it a point, and we saw it on Saturday, shoot the puck a little bit more, be a little bit more selfish. Don't look for the pretty play. So I think Dan Vladar over saves with Pittsburgh facing elimination. That could also be worth a look here. And it's a good prop game, which is great because we're going to be on the BetCast. I'm going to have all these props in action. So that's going to be a lot of fun. No question about it. All right, let's go to first round game 4, the late game, Vegas and Utah. We probably will be on for just the start of this game. Depends on when Philly-Pittsburgh ends because we're only going to stay on till the end of the Philly-Pittsburgh game. But there's a chance this game might be underway if Philly-Pittsburgh's still going. Certainly that'll be the case if we get some overtime tonight with the Flyers and the Penguins. But we got Vegas and Utah. Vegas minus 120 road favorites. 5.5 the total. Utah leading the series 2-1. I'm going to be on Vegas first goal, first period here. I do think we're going to get a good response early from Vegas. It was weird game 3 where Utah is actually getting outplayed. Certainly the shots on goal were in favor of Vegas. They actually controlled, the game a little bit more just as far as territory, shot attempts, shots on goal. But Karel Vejmelka had a really good game. And Utah, it seemed like, was capitalizing on the very much fewer amount of chances that they got in game 3. And that was enough for them to be able to get the victory there on Friday night in game 3. That being said, John Tortorella's shaking things up a little bit. If you look at the power play units, there's going to be some changes here tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights in this game. It looks like Eichel, Dorofeyev, Mark Stone, Cloutier, Barbashev, and Theodore going to be the top power play unit. Marner's not on that unit anymore. That's the interesting move. Marner's on the second unit now with Hertl, Howden, Anderson, and Hannafin. So a little bit of a shakeup here by John Tortorella with the power play unit here trying to get things going. And he's talked about it too. Don't look for the pretty play. We're turning down opportunities to shoot the puck a little bit. We'll see if Vegas takes a more direct approach here tonight in this game. This is a game where I definitely think if you're going to look at a saves prop, you just hope he doesn't get pulled because sometimes when a game goes south for Vejmelka, it can really go south. But he played pretty well in game 3 in that one, and he's played solid in this series. I think game 1 was not a great game for him, but since then he's played pretty well in this series. So Vejmelka saves, I definitely have some interest in that tonight, over 24.5. He did go over his saves prop in game 3 on Friday night. Vegas is going to have to using that mindset of when we have the power play, it's not just that we have the different formations and the power play units have different personnel. We have to be more direct with pucks to net, traffic to net, said John Tortorella yesterday when speaking to the media. So, like I said, I think definitely Vegas I like to get on the board first, but I'm not going to bet him full game because this feels a little bit to me, Alex, like Edmonton, Anaheim, where you're going to get the veteran team, the experienced team on the road, down 2-1, coming out with a good surge to begin the game, get that first goal. But then that young team, maybe that faster team, gets a little more confident as the game goes on. And I've seen now enough of this series to know Utah has been more than able to hold their own against Vegas. So give me Vegas to score first goal, first period. I'm not interested in Vegas full game. I'm going to wait and see where we're at that point. I think they'll have a strong start, get the lead, but this wouldn't be shocking if this is Edmonton-Anaheim part 2 from last night. Edmonton gets the lead but loses the game. Vegas scores first, gets the lead but loses the game. I wouldn't be shocked. And Utah gets better and stronger as the game goes on. So I like Vegas first goal, first period here more than anything. Lean over 5.5. I might wait a little bit for that. But Alex, what do you think here? Game 4, Vegas, Utah.
Yeah, first thing I grabbed was both teams to score in the first period, plus 186. And like I said, it wouldn't shock me at all if Vegas throws that first punch, gets that goal, but Utah can answer right back. Like I said, they're not afraid of Vegas at all. And like I said, at times Utah has outskated this Vegas team. We know what that crowd's going to bring, that kind of energy and momentum. May not be exactly the same as Game 3, but I would expect something similar and close enough. And I don't think even if Vegas gets that first goal, I don't think it's going to derail that crowd necessarily. I think they're going to still be able to hang in there and give their team some boost. So plus 186, both teams to score in the first period. That's the only play I have pregame along with a bargain bin.
All right, great stuff. Excellent. Yeah, and bargain bin from this game for Alex. Shots on goal, we'll start there. Krause over shots on goal in every game in this series, but now it's juiced to minus 180 for the over 1.5, so it's a little pricey. I mean, the one that's still great value because he's gone over his shots every game, and he just rips puck every game. Dylan Guenther, over 3.5 shots on goal. It's now cashed in all 3 games here in the series, so I don't know why you would stop with that. I think Dorofeyev, we talk about Vegas a little, trying to get more aggressive and not look for the pretty play, shoot it more. Well, who's the shooter on this team, or one of the premier shooters on this team? Pavel Dorofeyev. That's who. So over 2.5 shots on goal for Dorofeyev. That makes sense. I think Anderson, this could be a game where he maybe shoots the puck a little bit more from the back end. He's got that capability. I mean, we got to keep, as far as point props, close shave Barbashev continues to be the best value point prop on the board for this game. I mean, he's gotten a point in 3 straight games. 4 of the last 5, 7 of the last 10, if you go back to the regular season, and his point prop is still a very cheap, reasonable minus 115, minus 120 or so. Stone and Cooley have points in every game so far in this series. Kyler Yamamoto, his point prop, and Uyghur as well for Utah, they've gotten points in back-to-back games. Yamamoto is close to plus 190 or so to get a point tonight for the Mammoth. And Mackenzie Uyghur, you're getting a really good price there, plus 175 for him. And for Yamamoto, plus 200 at Betway for his point prop. And these are 2 guys that have gotten points in back-to-back games. So that's great value as far as point props are concerned with them. I think the goal props, you look at it, we've got Guenther, back-to-back games with a goal. Uyghur now back-to-back games with a goal. And, of course, Rob Schremp, our guest on Friday, had Mackenzie Uyghur bargain bin on Friday night. Heck of a call. And, again, that goes part and parcel with him shooting the puck a decent amount. Krause goal prop, never going to argue with that, especially with how good he's been at home and still remaining on that top line for the Mammoth with Schmaltz and Keller. So his goal prop's worth a look. Nick Dowd, believe it or not, has scored last game for Vegas. I think he's got goals in multiple games now in this series for the Vegas Golden Knights, and he's a sneaky player. He's a guy that has been in the playoff wars before with Washington. Nick Dowd could be someone that's, like I said, a little bit of a sneaky goal prop consideration. Block shots, what I would say here is look for Utah maybe to have more block shots tonight because I think Vegas maybe controls the flow. Schmidt, Cole, Uyghur, they could be your candidates for that. And as mentioned, I like Vejmelka over saves tonight here for Utah. So those are the props I'm looking at most of all. Great stuff. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. A reminder, of course, tonight, BetCast, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We cannot wait for it. It is Pittsburgh, Philly, Game 5, elimination game. We're going to show you how to bet an elimination game the right way, the winning way. And if it's anything like we saw over the weekend, we're going to have some great live bets available at our disposal. So make sure you join us 7 p.m. Eastern time for the Patreon exclusive live betcast for Game 5, Flyers Penguins tonight, wizardsportspicks.com. Check it out there, daily premium picks in various sports. And, of course, patreon.com/Ice Guys. And that's the place to be to join us for the betcast tonight. $10 per month. And in addition to the BetCast access for tonight. You'll get goalie charts, totals charts, daily betting card, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. $50 off all sports discount with my Dub Club service is there still as well. So check it out. And again, your membership goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping it going long term. So get on board. $10 per month at patreon.com/iceguys.
And also check out the Ice Guys store at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. You've got 3 days left to save 20% off all items in the store. Hit that redeem button at the homepage to put your items in the cart, and 20% will be taken off at checkout. Springtime. It's playoff time. It's a great time to get a hoodie, get a t-shirt, get a cap, maybe get all three, and you can save 20% off for the next 3 days at the Ice Guys store. That's iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
All right, indeed. Yeah, that's a great point for Ergo in the chat here, talking about Carter Hart. Yeah, he's got to step it up a little bit. That was, I don't think he was a problem in game 1 or game 2, but that was subpar from him in game 3. It was really the first time he's looked, you could point the finger a little bit at him for a Vegas Golden Knights loss. So we'll see if Carter Hart has a rebound performance tonight in a very important game 4 in Utah here tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights. All right, bargain bin special of the night from the 2 games here for this Monday. Alex, we'll start with you. Bargain bin special of the night.
Yeah, let's go to that late contest with Vegas and Utah, and hopefully Carter Hart doesn't get things rolling too hot and heavy, because one guy I like to get on the board for the Utah Mammoth, that's Lawson Krause. You can get him anytime goal scorer plus 330. That's available at FanDuel and at DraftKings. I see a plus 320 over at BetMGM. So Lawson Krause for the Utah Mammoth, anytime goal scorer. That's my bargain bin special for this Monday night.
There you go, Lawson Krause. That is definitely on my goal prop card tonight for sure. At that price, it's a great price. Once again for him on the top line, plus 350. Lawson Krause, Utah Mammoth for Alex with his bargain bin special of the night. I've got 2 from the same game and the same team. 2 Philadelphia Flyers bargain bin specials of the night for me. First one is Denver Barkey up on the top line, plus 625 at BetMGM. It's a great price considering it looks like he's going to be up with Tippett and with Zegras on the top line. So Denver Barkey for Philly, plus 625. And the other Philadelphia Flyer bargain bin, the guy that's coming into the lineup tonight, replacing Matvei Mishkov. Not only did he score the last time he played in a game for the Flyers, he also scored the last time he was in the lineup for a game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And that is Alex Bump. I think the Flyers are going to get a bump from Alex tonight. He'll find the back of the net, plus 650. Is the price for Alex Bump for the Philadelphia Flyers. So there you go, bump in the night. Alex Bump for Philadelphia, plus 650. And Denver Barkey for the Philadelphia Flyers. That one at plus 625. So, boy, you're talking about a plus 625 for one and a plus 650 for the other. Big prices for me. Bump and Barkey for my bargain bin specials for this Monday night. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you got for best bet?
Let's go to that Keystone State battle. And like I said, I believe it ends tonight. I think Philly gets the job done. I think we see an empty net goal in this contest. So at plus 125 over BetMGM, give me an empty net goal. Yes, plus 125. That's my best bet here for Monday.
Flyers Pens empty net goal plus 125, over 5.5 minus 120 for me in that same game. Flyers and Penguins 3-0 with full game overs in these elimination games over the weekend in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I think we make it 4 in a row here tonight. And we also had our first over of the series in the last game. I think that continues here tonight. Flyers, Penguins, over 5.5, minus 120 for best bet. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Betcast tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. Join us for that. Sign up at patreon.com/IceGuys. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Monday. We'll see you in a few hours for the live betcast on Patreon, and tomorrow, Tuesday, for another 2 p.m. Eastern for another edition of the Ice Guys.